you know, as we're moving forward and we're considering this, my district is sort of interested in the process, Mr. Speaker, but they're really interested in the substance of this Congress. This is a group that is now in the leadership and now in the majority that made very clear promises about what? Fiscal discipline, fiscal responsibility. And those are things that deeply resonate in the district that I represent. This is what Mrs. Pelosi said. She said, Democrats are committed to ending years of irresponsible budget policies that have produced historic benefits. And she said in another locale, we'll work to lead the House of Representatives with a commitment to integrity, to civility, and to fiscal responsibility. Well, that sounds fantastic. Now, you go door to door in the 6th Congressional District of Illinois. You go door to door in Mrs. Bachmann's district, the 6th District of Minnesota. You go in Mr. Jordan's district in Ohio. You go in Mr. Davis's district in Tennessee. You go in Mr. McCarthy's district in California, and you say, I am going to stand for fiscal responsibility, and they say, hip, hip, hooray, go to Congress, you go do the right thing. But where the breakdown has happened, where the disconnect has happened, is when people say, hey, I voted for fiscal responsibility. I voted for fiscal discipline. That's how I cast my vote last November. And now they come into the third quarter of this year, and all of a sudden they realized, oh, that's not happening. Oh, that's not even close to happening. Oh, they're spending money like there's no tomorrow. That's how this majority has approached the budget situation. Do you remember the conversation that we had, Mr. Speaker, on this House floor on the earmark process? Now, earmarks, you'll recall, are those abilities to sort of put a little Post-it note in an appropriations bill, and the little Post-it note says that this money is going to be spent on this particular program in this particular way. Now, there are some people that say all earmarks are bad. I don't necessarily think that's true, but what I do think is that all earmarks should be transparent. People should have the ability to look at the federal budget. They ought to be able to look at the appropriations bills. They ought to be able to look at the work of Congress and say, who's behind that spending item, what's motivating that person, and where is it going? Well, what we were told is that these earmarks would be transparent. In fact, we were told all throughout the course of the 2006 campaign that what the Democratic leadership wanted to do was to completely transcend the earmark process and open it up to sunshine and goodness and light. But the reality was much different than that. And the reality was it was the Republican minority in this chamber that had to fight tooth and nail on this floor to drive the appropriations process open so that earmarks were transparent. Because the way it was originally set up was that we were told that all we could do was simply write a letter if we had an objection to an earmark to the chairman of the Appropriations Committee. And that is simply not good enough. So